السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أسعد الله أوقاتكم. Today we will discuss together the multiplication over matrices, where we previously in the previous lesson we have discussed together the addition and subtraction over matrices. So to do what we want to do today we will discuss two cases of how we can multiply matrix time scalar, a scalar multiplication we called it, or a matrices, two matrices, how we can multiply them, A times B as a two matrices. Okay, let me discuss that. So at the beginning I will assume we have a matrix A, which is for example 2, 4 and -2, -1, for example, just a arbitrary number I will put here. Here set B, or the matrix P, I will choose it as 3, -1. Also I will choose another matrix which is C, I will put it like 2 and 3. Okay. Now, the first case, which is how we can multiply a scalar time matrix. For example, if I ask you to find 3A, where A is a matrix, 3 is a number, a real number, arbitrary real number. So how we can multiply this? It's easy to find it, easy procedure to find it. All what you have to do is to multiply 3 by every element in A. So I will multiply 3 with every element here, 2, 4, -2, -1, all of them. So let me apply that. 3 times, I will simplify it like this, 2, 4, -2, -1. Now, let me multiply now. 3 times 2, it will be 6. 3 times 4, it will be 12. 3 times -2, it will be -6. 3 -9, 1, which equal -3. Okay. So by this way, like this, we can multiply any scalar by a matrix. Assume another example as a negative number or as a fraction, negative fraction, for example, -2/3, and multiply by, okay, I will just make it half to make it easy to me, with A. So we need to multiply this. It will be what? -half times every element here, so it will be -half times 2, 4, -2, -1. So the answer, it must be -half of 2. Half of 2 is equal 1, but it's negative times positive, it will be -1. Half of 4, it will be -2. Same procedure, same way. So half of -2, it will be 1. Half of 2 is 1. Now half of 1 is half, and negative times negative, it will be positive. So here we will get the half. It's easy, I think. That's by this way we can multiply any number by a matrix. It's easy. Just multiply every single element by the number outside here. Is 3 and -5. Okay. The second case, which is the most important of our lesson today, is how to multiply two matrices. That's what I want. I will keep this to give examples later. Now, to multiply two matrices, we cannot multiply arbitrarily as I want. Like you can multiply any two numbers without any condition. But if you want to multiply matrices, there is a conditions. So you have only one condition, and it must to be satisfied to multiply two matrices. If the condition doesn't satisfy, we cannot do the operation. Okay. So what's this condition? Let me remind you firstly, by the size of matrix from the previous lessons, what we say? We say the size of matrix is number of rows times number of columns. So for example, the size is 2 times 2. Here the size is 2 times 1, where is 2 rows and 1 column. here the size is 1 times 2 because 1 row and 2 columns. That's good up to now. Just I want to remind you. Now, what's the condition? We needed to have the ability to multiply two matrices. The condition is easy. To multiply two matrices, let me assume let A and B are two matrices. B matrices. Then A times B is exist just if and only if, just in case, if the number of columns of the first one, which is A here in my example here, which is A, if the number of columns of A is equal to number of rows of B, the second one. So we need to make sure that the number of rows here equal to number of columns here. Sorry, number of columns here, I'm so sorry. The number of the columns of the first one if I want to find AB. Number of columns in the first one must equal the number of rows in the second one. It's easy to save it like this. When we put the sizes, it's easy to save it like this to memorize it. It's hard to memorize this rule or the rule which mentioned in the book, number of elements in the rows must equal number of elements in the column. I find that it's so hard to memorize it, but it's easy to save it like this. Put the size, the first step, put the size. I will give you the procedure to find the condition. After we put the size, the closed numbers here, this number and this number, must be cancelled. And the answer must have the size 2 times 1. This is the size of the answer, 2 times 1. Again, what I said. To memorize this condition, it's easy to put the size of the first one and the size of the second one. Then, the closed numbers here, which is here represent columns, the second one, and here rows, which represent by the first one. So number of columns equal number of rows. This one must equal this one. So we can multiply them. Now the answer, what's the size of the answer? The product of the two matrices. What's the product? What the size of the product? It must have 2 times 1. This is the size of the product. Let me simplify and find the answer for A, B in my question here. Okay, by the way, we can now multiply A times Z because it satisfies the condition. But we can multiply A times C? Let me check. This one and this one. This is 1 and this is 2. They are different, so we cannot multiply. Directly we will say the multiplication is undefined. The operation of multiplication is undefined operation here. So there is no answer. Okay. Now we can multiply and check. So A times B. How I can find it? It's easy to find it if you focus with me. If you focus with me and repeat this video again and again to get the final answer. Okay. How? Start rows by rows from the first matrix and column by column in the second matrix. I will multiply every corresponding element here, like 2 times 3, then 4 times -1. I will multiply row times column, row times column in every step. In every step, I will multiply row times a column. So, firstly, I will put 2 times 3 like this, 2 times 3, plus, I will add now, 4 times -1, 4 times -1. I will use this notion. Good. I have finished from the first row, now go to the next row. Again and again to finish all of the rows. Now, -2 times what? Times 3. -2 times 3. I will get down because I dropped one row, I will get down one row. Now, plus, directly I will put plus. -1 times -1. Like this. And simplify this, we will find the final answer. It will be 6, -4, it will be 2, and here, -6, +1, it will be -5. If you check the answer I said it must have the size 2 times 1. Good. It's have 2 rows and 1 column, so the size is 2 times 1. Good. I'm sure most of you cannot understand from the first shot. You need to try again and again to make sure you can multiply any two matrices. I will give you a more harder example. Let me check now 3 times 3 matrices. Matrix like 2, 4, -1, 6, 7, 1, 0, 4, 1. This 3 times 3 matrix, I want to multiply by, here the size is 3 times 3. So if I want to multiply by another matrix, it must have 3 times something. Don't important what it is this something. So 3 here is the numbers of what? The number of rows. We need to put elements here, elements. Now, how many columns? Not important to me. Let me put 3 times 2, for example. So I want to make a matrix with 2 columns and 3 rows to make sure the answer exists. So here, put arbitrary numbers now, 4, 1, -2, -3, 1, 0, for example. Good. How we can multiply? Now, if you want to multiply, I said we need to check the size firstly. So the size for the first one is 3 times 3. The size for the second one is 3 times 2. Then the number of this number, the closed numbers, the number of columns in the first one and the number of rows in the second one, they are equal. So we can multiply. That's what I can say. And the answer must equal what? And the answer must equal, the size is 3 times 2. The size of the answer is 3 times 2. What I mean by 3 times 2, I mean we have 2 columns. And how many rows? 3 rows. 1, 2, 3 rows. Now let me find the answer. Step by step, start by rows times column. Rows times column up to finish. Let me start one by one, step by step. First element here in the first row, I will multiply it by the first element in the first column. So, 2 times 4. I will put it down here to make sure. 4 times what? The second element in the first row, I will multiply it by the second element in the first column. So 4 times -2 plus 4 times -2. Now 7 times 1, same procedure, 7 times 1 plus 7 times 1. I will need extra space here. I'm so sorry. I have finished from the first row and first column. I will go directly from the first row to second column and put the answer here. So 2 times 1 again, same procedure. I will use another marker, blue marker for example here, to clarify everything. So 2, I will multiply it by this one. 2 times 1. 2 times 1. Then 4, it will multiply by negative 3 plus 4 times negative 3. Then 7, it must multiply by 0 here, plus 7 times 0. I have finished the first row by the second column. Multiply this by this and 0 by this one. Same way I multiply the second row and third row. Let me multiply them now quickly. 6 times 4, focus with me. 6 times 4. Then negative 1 times negative 2. Negative 1 times negative 2. Then 1 times 1. Now I finish from this row. I will go directly to second row. 6 times 1. Negative 1 times negative 3. 1 times 0. Now 0 times anything is 0. So 0 times 0 here. I will not be happy. 4 times negative 2. Plus 1 times 1. I have finished from the third row with the first column, third row with the second column, and finally I will get the answer. 0 times 1. Now 4 times negative 3. 1 times 0. Now I will put the final answer here. I need to simplify all of them in this space. So focus with me. 2 times 4 is what? Is 8. Negative 8, they will cancel. So this will cancel with this. So I will get what? 7. 2 minus 12 and 0. 2, 0 is cancelled. So 2 minus 12, negative 12, and 2, we will get negative 10. Here, 24, 26, 27. Here, 6, 3 is 9, and 0 is 9. 0, cancelled. Negative 8 and 1, negative 7. 0 cancelled. Negative, this is also cancelled. So we'll get what? Negative 12. The final answer is 7, negative 10, 27, 9, and negative 7 and negative 12. That's our final answer. Okay, now we check all cases, all objective of our lesson, and give you examples. For details, inshallah, for details, by on the online video or on the virtual class on Thursday, together we will solve some examples, and I will give you the chance to ask anything you want, inshallah. Please don't forget to solve some extra examples. I will put, of course, I will put question on the exam about the matrix multiplication, okay? To make sure you understand this concept. Be careful of yourself. Take care. Goodbye.